The Raiders finally find themselves a backup quarterback. Hey, I'm Bryan, Salmond, and this is Vegas Nation. Now, folks, it took the Silver and Black all 4 preseason games, but tonight in Seattle, E.J. Manuel distanced himself from Connor Cook. Manuel gets his first start of the preseason, and all Manuel does is put up a quarterback rating of 154.5. Manuel completes 8 straight balls, throws 2 touchdown passes of 45 yards, and 1 of 19. Manuel 18 for 22, 255 yards, and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Sorry, Connor Cook. Manuel plays into the third quarter, leaving the game with a 23-13 lead. Running back Chris Warren, one of the players who's been one of the best on the team in the preseason, only manages 17 yards on 9 carries. Raiders beat writer Michael Gehlken is in Seattle and has more on tonight's preseason wrap-up and how Jon Gruden thought his borderline players played. Michael.
Thanks, Bryan. As you said, a 30-19 exhibition win for the Raiders over the Seahawks, thereby ending the preseason finally. This exhibition, and really all preseason games before it, are really about individual performance. The Raiders, sure, they were 3-1 as a team here in August, but what really matters is who helped himself and who didn't help himself going into the 53-man roster and practice squad decisions that the Raiders are going to finalize before Saturday's 1 p.m. deadline. So let's talk about first who helped himself. Keon Hatcher, 8 catches, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns, an impressive performance from someone who spent all of 2017 on the Raiders practice squad. The question now is, what do they do with him? Going into Thursday, it was expected that he was going to be waived. The Raiders really weren't planning on retaining him. They thought, based on what he'd shown in the preseason thus far, he might be someone that they could sneak onto their practice squad again. But now, given that all 31 other NFL teams have seen what Hatcher just did, it's probably unlikely that should the Raiders waive Hatcher on Friday or Saturday, that he would clear waivers on Sunday, or even be willing, should he clear waivers, to return to the team, given the Raiders are expected to go heavy at wide receiver, and Hatcher would be on the outside of that whole equation. So what do they do there? E.J. Manuel, another player who helped himself, really seemed to solidify his hold on the Raiders' backup quarterback job. He was a pregame captain ahead of Connor Cook. He outperformed Connor Cook, played more of the game, all of the first half and into the third quarter. 3 touchdowns, nearly 300 passing yards. Yes, this is an exhibition against a lot of defenders who aren't going to be making the 53-man roster. Some of these guys won't play in the NFL ever again. They're going to have careers in Canada. Still, you like, if you're the Raiders, what you saw from E.J. Manuel, and certainly you would think it would be enough for him to be the number 2 quarterback this season. But All Brown, a defensive end, also helped himself. Let's go to somebody who didn't, though. Mario Edwards Jr., defensive end, a 2015 second-round pick. I kind of want to redo on my 53-man roster that I had in Thursday's newspaper, because it had Mario Edwards in there, and I was hearing maybe otherwise that he wouldn't make the club. And you look at how he was used Thursday. He played into the 4th quarter. Again, this is a former second-round pick in 2015. He's playing into the 4th quarter of a 4th exhibition. Clearly the Raiders, in a game when they're resting about 40-plus players, or nearly 40 players, were underwhelmed with what they've seen from Edwards so far. And so I think with the rise of All Brown, Mario Edwards Jr. could be getting notification on Friday, or more likely Saturday morning, that he is not part of the Raiders' 53-man roster. From here in Seattle, back to you, Bryan, in the Vegas Nation studio.
All right, well, it's time, as always, to bring it back into the studio, and I welcome in NFL writer here at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Gilberto Manzano. And right off the top, you have to ask, that quarterback backup position that they have, I think E.J. Manuel has secured that, maybe?
Yeah, I think if somebody finally wanted that backup job. It seemed for a couple of weeks nobody wanted that number 2 spot. But today, E.J. Manuel did a great job. He started off kind of shaky. He had a 3-and-out in the first series.
He did.
And after that, he just kept getting on a roll, specifically to a Keon Hatcher. So there's no more, I think, debate. I think E.J. Manuel's the guy. Now, Connor Cook, we don't know about his future. He might be on the cut block when it comes to Saturday for the deadline. But at least if you're Jon Gruden and the Raiders, you feel good about E.J. Manuel.
How about the fact that they actually started E.J. Manuel? Then on top of that, they made him a captain going into this game, almost as if Jon Gruden knew that he thought that he would be the guy that would win that backup spot?
Yeah, he must have had a really good week in practice, or just Jon Gruden wants to shake it up, because he pretty much handed, or not, I don't want to say handed, but he tried everything he could to give Connor Cook that number 2 job. He was taking the second team reps in training camp. He was started after Derek Carr. Yeah. He started the game against the Rams for Connor Cook. Yeah. So it was all Connor Cook. But today, the curveball, E.J. Manuel came in and not Connor Cook. And E.J. Manuel went into deep in the third quarter.
He did, yeah.
Connor Cook, had pretty much the final couple of minutes in the third quarter and then the fourth quarter. But that kind of tells you that, John Gruden's not happy with Connor, and if it was an open race, then E.J. Manuel took it.
All right, so the final preseason game, when you watched it, was there anyone in particular that you were surprised that did play or did not play in this final preseason game?
For the guys that played, I was surprised that Rashaan Melvin, who is pretty much already penciled in as a starting cornerback, who came in from the Colts. I think he got a big payday from free agency. Yeah. He's safe, but I'm wondering why he was there. Taking snaps and in the first quarter. Maybe he feels like he's still rusty on a new system of Paul Gunther. He kind of asked John Gruden, can I get some more reps in there, kind of feel it out. That could be the thing probably. And the one that you should be real concerned is Mario Edwards Jr. He was a second-round pick in 2015.
Gruden doesn't like second-round picks?
Yeah, right. It's a trend with Obi, and he traded one in April. But, Mario, he went from DN to D tackle. And this is two preseason games in a row where he's playing deep into the third quarter or fourth quarter. And it seems like the Raiders want to see something from him before Saturday comes and the cut day comes. And I don't know if he did enough to show, the Raiders that he's a guy you need, because D tackle is already a position that's filled with the rookies, are P.J. Hall and Mo Hurst.
Especially because of how well the defensive line for the Raiders are playing this preseason with these rookies. I mean, they've almost made it as if they don't need Khalil Mack. I mean, they do, but I mean, they played really, really well.
It's wild how much that position has changed. We kept saying Khalil Mack needs help. Nobody's helping Khalil Mack, and then you get a really good draft class, and it's not even a year. It's like a preseason, and now you're kind of you're looking like a loaded position there. Yeah. And like we said, Mario Edwards was a second-round pick. He has the opportunity to kind of show something in the past. But we mentioned, but those pre-Gruden guys are not safe, and he's been hurt and banged up, and he's never really done anything. But you also mentioned, guys that that did not play, you thought could play, is Donald Penn.
Donald Penn and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who said they.
If Rashaan Melvin is asking for more snaps, why not DRC? So I'm kind of wondering about that. Maybe because he's an older guy, maybe it's better to kind of keep him healthy. And Donald Penn playing right tackle, he's not ready.
He said that I need more. I mean, that was his press conference this past week. He said that.
So I'm surprised he was in there to kind of get some more under his belt, more reps, and kind of get a feel for September 10th. Okay.
Now a few guys, anyone that actually opened your eyes, like maybe this guy is going to make the team. One that comes to mind, Chris Warren, didn't play all that well, but still Washington hasn't played. And Keon Hatcher, you mentioned him already. He caught the 2 touchdown passes. But then he got another one from Connor Cook.
That's right.
He balled out.
Yeah, with Chris Warren, he was like the guy who was like the MVP, the hot guy we're talking about of preseason. Yeah. And he's kind of slowed down the last couple of weeks, especially he's been getting the carries, but those yards per carry are not there. It's like 2 to 3 yards.
Yeah, I think it was 1.9 tonight.
1.9, but some of those guys who were run between the tackles and the trenches, they need a lot of carries to get going before they start chucking along and starting wear down the opposing defense. So that could be something with Chris Warren, but he is cooling off. But I think his job is still safe. With 5 running backs potentially and 1 fullback, you want to count him, Keith Smith there. But you mentioned DeAndre Washington; he's still not around.
No,
and that's not a good
I think
look.
He's out of there.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. If you're not available, John Gruden knows that, and they want to see you play. Especially
your best ability.
You got to be available, right?
Yes, available.
And he hasn't been, especially with a position so deep, and you can't keep everybody.
All right, well, that will do it for the Raiders. One reminder, the Raiders open up their season September 10th in Oakland, taking on those L.A. Rams in a game that everyone is definitely wanting to watch on Monday Night Football. So for Gilberto Manzano in studio, I'm Bryan Salmond for Vegas Nation. We'll see you next time.